Hello guys, this is probably gonna be a boring stream, but like I decided I wanted to do this. I don't know why I did that as if that's gonna help. But yeah. I just I felt like doing this and so I'm doing this. I couldn't think of anything else to do for today, I'm sorry. Let's see what's the story that I'm going to. Oh gods. Oh, thank the god. Although that's actually a pretty small one, really. Remove that. So this one is pretty simple, honestly. What the? Yes. But what the? Oh, that actually looks like I started off good. But that's not what I'm working on. Anyway, I'll do HD. So this is just a pretty simple story. It's about, it just, all that really, wait, what was the title of this story again? I already forgot. It's just a game. This was the one that was, I don't actually remember most of it, but I remembered it one day when I was like writing into my basically note of like what all characters I've made, which has over 200 characters by the way. And I remembered, hey, there's this one story where that's like one of the characters was the final boss of something. And I didn't remember like literally anything else. So all I remember is that this story I got inspired by the demonic gray cat theme thing. So I'm gonna draw a cat here. And I decided to make one of the characters that I have in a lot of the stories is a character named Knife. I know that is a very uncreative name. I need a better cat nose. Better nose. Good booper. That looks good. Yeah. So it's basically like that character who's often like a god in any given universe. She decided to mess around with some guy. I don't remember much about that. And like made him live through a real life version of like a video game with a whole boss thing and all that. And she was the final boss as like a cat, based on of course the demonic gray cat. And I made up like some pretty cool backgrounds, I'd imagine, but I'm not very good at drawing backgrounds, so that might not get into the picture that I'm drawing. Oh. You know what, let me just leave that there, actually. That's probably better than where it was by quite a bit. Yeah, that's kind of really all I remember. There were some, like, rocky, like those floating rocky, like, backgrounds and such. You know? And that's kinda it. Just got a little... I wasn't expecting to get literally, like, the only one that I didn't remember a lot of. I didn't really think about the fact I didn't remember a lot of it at the time, to be fair. So let me just... fuck it. That is the incorrect color. It is supposed to be green, not black. Actually, that's the wrong color too. It's supposed to be purple. And, let me see, what kind of brush can I use that I think would work better? I think I'll do airbrush. Not that big, holy shit. Cancel. No. Wait, that's probably... Sorry, at this point I'm kinda just trying to finish the drawing. There's not really much for me to talk about, since I've already said basically all there is about the character's story. Go for like a more pinkish color, like a bright, yeah. I didn't really do much for this, but let me get this up. Hold on, I actually don't. Again, wasn't expecting it to be one that I could literally explain in less than 10 minutes. Let me just like... This is... since there's only one character I actually remember, there's like... That character... there was like a part where she like... I don't know... something or other scary to... other one. I don't fucking know. Well, I gotta fucking... Yeah, I've literally described to you all that I remember about that entire story. Of all stories, of course, it had to be the one that I didn't remember all of, like, any of. It's really bad. The eyes are going different directions. I drew it in like 10 minutes, so, like, don't be too harsh. I'll just keep that as, like, the background. I'll duplicate this. What if I just, like... I thought it wouldn't have the... Hold on. Maybe there is one that doesn't have the... Don't care enough. This is a shitty cat. You know what, I can just kinda zoom in to the point that you can only see the cat and none of the rest of the stuff in the picture. There we go. Except I kinda want you to see the spinner when I when I actually go to a story that will take some time to tell. Thought I removed all the ones that only had like one character, but I guess I missed one. Cool. This one. Okay, this one kinda starts as more of a normal thing. Well, normal for my stories, which isn't exactly the most normal shit, but, you know. I thought I was on the eraser. How big does this go? Wow, 1,000 pixels. Jesus, snapped. Let's go back to the normal line. I want it to be dark, pitch black even. Anyway, that's the first future of virtual reality. Hello. I'm trying to make the photo back front and center again, but it's clearly not working. You can tell even better than I can. Can it work now? It looks like it's currently invisible to the thing that's supposed to be seeing it. There we go. Let me see. Let me change this to a dark color so it can actually be seen on this white-ass background these are going to be on. I just decided to put that in because I didn't really have much else to do here. So, the future of virtual reality. Alright, it starts around the time where the original main characters were adults. I say original because they ended up just kinda disappearing in anybody else's point of view by the actual time the main story that I know what I've gotten to is, so it starts with 3 characters. The S character I have put in that I have in like the one community post where I did a drawing and like told the whole lore shit. But like this universe is S. These characters are called Sabrina. The Sabrina is just kind of living in a house with the knife of that universe, which is as much a god there as it is as she's in most of them. Sorry, getting distracted by drawing. Fuck! Can I redo? No, fucking no. I accidentally undid my not even finished erasing. Anyway, so they're living, like, in this weird cottage, like, in the middle of God's nowhere. And they kind of just play VR chat every now and a lot, I guess. But the real kicker is that this Sabrina, like all of the others, is a genius. That's the thing that is, like, consistent between stories. Pretty much every instance of that character is a genius, as I think I actually pointed out in this. It says, I don't know what the fuck I was on when I wrote almost always in a relationship with T. There's like maybe half those stories as in a relationship. Like, seriously, I don't know. It's not like it was that long ago that I made that. Holy shit, I made that universe before I wrote down, made the, like, a list of all the characters. Never mind, apparently. I can't say that this means that they're, like, earlier than any of the characters added months later, even as late as earlier today. Just because some of those were made before that story, and I even remember them being made before that story, but I just didn't remember them at the time of writing that story into the list. I didn't remember at the time that I was starting writing the story list. So, yeah. Anyway, oh, yeah. Okay, there. I'm gonna go with the darker green. Just to like distinguish the two. That is like the entirely wrong way to draw human eyes. Holy shit. I didn't know I could fuck it up that bad. This color. Let me go a bit like that. Anyway, yeah, and she made the thing is this, with the thing that happens in this story that's like different is that this instance of Sabrina makes a thing that is called in this story Vroom or V-Room or whatever, depends on the character. Much better. This V-Room thing is a thing I actually made up before making all this story stuff. Shit, bullshit, whatever. I just decided that it would be, like, really fun. Apparently this is not quite zoomed in enough, actually. There you go. Just a cat. You just get to see a really shittily drawn cat. I don't know why anybody would decide to watch this stream. I'm, like, getting extremely distracted to the point that I don't even talk for a good while. And meanwhile, there's just this really shitty cat drawing in the forefront. But whatever. The thing for the story, right? This V-Room thing is like this weird, you could call it goop-like, I guess, but its actual anatomy, well, if you can call it an anatomy, it's a mechanical creation, even if it has a sentient mind. It's like made up of, this I gotta like focus on entirely describing because it's hard to describe. It's made up of these really tiny, these like particles, like these really tiny particles that can split into other ones or something. It initially was created as a room, hence why it can be pronounced V-Room. It was basically like a room for VR, why the V is there. VR room. Funny. Like I made the name of the thing a pun, I just realized. It was based on the idea of just the walls could like alter themselves to fit with the fictional world that you're in a way that basically makes it so you actually feel what you're supposed to feel in that world, in the virtual world. Now, you may realize that I did mention it was sentient, and that but I also mentioned that it can make you feel things in the virtual world in reality, it did not go rogue. Actually, quite the opposite. It was a friend to a later character that I'll add on, that I'll talk about later. But at the beginning, it was just a friend to its creator and her friends, Knife and Alex. Alex is just like, in all honesty, he's fucking token straight guy. Or token white guy, I guess. I don't know. I don't. He just disappears after a bit in the story. I didn't really tell a way of him that happening, but like, I did end up later on creating like a canon reason that happened. And I didn't even think about this story when doing it, I kinda just did it. I might not be doing drawings, I don't know. It's hard to focus on drawing and also speaking. This is why artists do time lapses of their drawings while and then do speaking afterwards, after they're done with the drawing, well after. I cannot, like, actually do that anymore. I'm lucky I got even one out, because this is, even though this is, like, absolute dog shit. More accurately, cat shit, because it's a cat, haha. Also, you might be wondering why the cat's eyes are purple. It's also supposed to have white. Get with that, because I was in a rush. It took me like 10 minutes to get there. Wow, the drop frames is just going up and up and up, ain't it? Oh, it went down a frame. It went down by one. Sorry, got distracted. This story, what was I on? It was on the future of virtual reality. So all it really, what am I thinking? Right, they're just like hanging out, living together until like one day. I believe this is in this story. In multiple stories, there's like a side plot that involved the SCP Foundation in one way or another. There was a time period where I was quite interested in it, and I decided to continue stories that I'd already made, mostly, rather than make new stories like I do a lot of the time. Maybe it was because I was early in making the stories at the time that I made this story, and all the other stories, and just got involved with the SCP Foundation in the first place. This one, as I mentioned, SCP Foundation side plot, whatever, jargon. This story's SCP Foundation side plot was with the characters, like, I think were asleep and got caught by the Foundation because they were anomalous, which, honestly, I'm surprised at how reasonable that is for a story that I made back in, I don't know, fucking 2020 or something. I've gotten much better at storytelling since then, I think. But I can't be sure because I've literally never told any of my stories to anybody. which is why I decided to do this, because I was bored and thought it would be fun. Also, let me edit the description. I'm gonna remove the... I'm gonna remove that bit from the description that is, like, unnecessary. I don't think anybody read it in the first place, so I'm just gonna remove it in there. I'm not gonna do automatic chapters. I'm gonna make my own chapters. I literally don't know how that, whatever. Save. Where was I? I was talking about something to do with, feature vert... Right. Sorry, I'm very scatterbrained constantly. They get caught. The Foundation thinks they can contain these characters when, although I think they pretty well succeeded for a little bit with Sabrina, the one who made the V room, because the V room was contained separately from the others. But V room escaped very easily with its ability that I just realized I haven't mentioned yet. It can just kind of turn into... It can change the form of matter it takes. It can... Obviously, I still don't think I described it very well, come to think of it. I think I just glossed past the thing. The V room, whatever, shit. That thing is like... Yeah, it started as a room to emulate virtual reality in physical reality. And it worked very well at that. But it also became a friend to the character Sabrina, and also to Knife and Alex, but mostly Sabrina, and was basically like a pet to her. This universe of Sabrina, I'm just saying that the character's name rather than the full name, because this one would be, what would this one be? Right, they're both... Right, the actual names of these characters, like full nicknames based on their universe and shit, actually reveals a future bit of their character arc, so I'm not doing that for these ones. Anyway. Have that. So... What was I got completely lost again. Right. The V-Room is like a pet to Sabrina, of course. And some of the abilities that it has that you wouldn't entirely expect from something that's just supposed to emulate virtual reality as physical reality is it can transform matter, not just itself, but also matter around it. It can basically duplicate itself infinitely, making itself able to be as big or as small as it wants to be. A better description of the transforming matter is it can turn other stuff into it, and it can turn itself into other stuff. The intention of this is to allow stuff like let's say somebody wants to give somebody else a drink, but they're of course in the virtual world. The first person hands it over. VRoom transforms that drink into part of itself, and then creates that same drink, in the where it should be in the simulated room of the other person who it was handed to. This, of course, causes the side effect of it being impossible to contain, due to no matter really being capable of avoiding getting transformed by it. Except I think I actually did add a thing that it couldn't transform or change and shit. But that didn't, like, stop the characters from escaping the facility, like, at all. Especially since they found out very late into their escape. But that's soon. They initially got caught for a little bit, and then all, of course, escaped. They were attempted to be recaptured, but extreme failure, and had extreme levels of failure, if I recall correctly. Although they might have been recaptured in a simulated false version of the real world, which they also knew was false, so they kind of just got out of that too. Sorry, I just, like, mentally, I dozed off, but, like, physically I did not. I just zoned out of existence. Anyway, their escape was pretty easy. They went out of the what looked like it was the main facility, the actual whole facility, but they were actually in a fake facility inside of the real facility. Yeah, I changed my storytelling tactics since then. But this fake place was mostly for the captors to realize the capabilities of the anomalies that they were containing. They found out that they only knew that VRoom was dangerous, so they only knew that one was powerful. So they just found a way to contain it. And they did. They found the fucking material that I talked about, where I don't remember if it had a name. Either way, it was something designed to be impossible for the VRoom to consume/destroy. But what they didn't know is that knife was literally just the god of that universe or some shit, or god of that multiverse, I guess is how this lore of these entire things go. But yeah, that's something. Trying to pick up my nose. After that escape, it was kind of boring. I believe after a while, of course, Alex just disappeared. The knife and Sabrina of that universe just dipped as well into the permanently locating themselves in the virtual world. And V-Room was left alone in that abandoned cottage in the middle of the forest that couldn't really be built as close to by like any construction company because it was stopping any of them from permanently creating stuff around it. I think it wasn't actually the house. It was I'm pretty sure it was Vroom or V-Room or whatever. I'm just gonna call it Vroom from now on because I think it's funny. Then a mother comes in with her recently like a week-old son, being like, "Ooh, this is such a cool place and shit." And leaves her son unattended for, I believe it was 2 to 3 hours. This child was clearly not having a good time. The mother was just not paying attention. Was it that the child wasn't having a good time? I can't remember. Either way, the mother was definitely not paying attention. And the child was therefore abducted by Vroom, the thing that, like, was the only living being, sentient being left in that fucking building. Oh, shit, sorry. Vroom kidnapped the child. The child's name was Kyle. But Vroom has limitations to what it's able to do, mostly based on who it is connected to wants to do. If it's not connected to anyone, it basically just has to abide by its basic rule set, with its few exceptions for, like, it can move itself to, like, protect someone if it desires to, which is what it did here. It analyzed the situation and perceived the child as in a predicament, because the child was, in fact, pretty well, I would say, in a predicament. Just left there in their little cradle. But since it couldn't do much but follow its code, its only way to, like, protect that it could think of to protect the child was to... Now you gotta, this is definitely not a good way to protect a child, even, and no matter what the situation is. This thing decided to put, I need to add something else actually, I just remembered I forgot to mention. The Vroom thing can also, if directly connected to somebody, can alter their body to the avatar of which they are playing as in VR chat specifically. I don't actually think I did any telling of, like, anything happening with the V-Room outside of VR chat, so its entire thing is based on VR chat. Anyway, the character, this child, was put into here with and given the avatar that was last used by VRoom. VRoom decided to that I think part of this makes sense, but it also very much doesn't. But like from its perspective, it was probably the only thing it could reasonably do, since it was basically forced to follow its programming outside of like choosing to help the child. Addition, actually, another thing I managed to miss because I'm very good at that. VRoom can quote unquote connect to people via the supposed people having these contacts that are just completely invisible, intangible, and effectively just an addition, like literally just an addition to the eye, it seems. No headset, no controllers, just some contacts. And VRoom decided that its best choice was to give these contacts to this child who was not having it was unprotected. Because of the fact the child was unprotected, not in like a sadistic way, but more in a protective way. And the child was turned into the form of the avatar. And this is a bit of a weird stretch in the logic of this universe. The child also gained the knowledge that an approximately 10 to 12-year-old would have because the body was approximately the size of a 10 to 12-year-old, although arguably the proportions of a fully grown adult. So it's a I don't know what I was thinking there. Don't know what I was cooking, but I think it froze. Now the kid kind of just the kid went by the name Kayla. Yeah, Kayla. I kind of just thought up of that name. That's like, hey, what's a feminine version of Kyle? Kayla. Okay, then I'll use that. And that's what the name was for that character, who then in this character in the original version of the story, the mother didn't really decide to come back to try and get her child after she realized she couldn't find the child, and there was a strange voice in a room in like the middle of the fucking building that she didn't recognize. That voice, of course, being the child, gender bent and grown up 10 years. Which is weird. But anyway, in the original version of the story, that happened. The mother eventually, of course, caved to old age, as every person does. The child, Kayla, did not. Grew up and ended up... Don't ask me how this happened, but she created an entire... like... She became a god. Like, she's never I think in the original version of the story, she's basically never left the room. But also never really fully virtualized. So... But she did, of course, get to know the virtualized versions of both Sabrina and Knife, which their names their nicknames that I gave them for this story, and why I didn't tell this earlier, was virtual Sabrina and virtual Knife. But anyway, she kinda got like, saw Vyram like a partner in crime kind of thing. Like a best friend you would probably do something illegal with if you really had to, but also they didn't have anything illegal to do because, technically speaking, they weren't in the real world and no one actually had a Vyram except for the house of which Sabrina and Knife lived in. So, yeah. She ended up with the help of also just knowing the code of the game from thousands of years, probably being, technically speaking, stuck in there. To no knowledge that there really was a proper, well, no sight of the outside world. In any instance of the story, she did not remember the life before becoming Kayla. But in this initial story, it ended with her becoming a god of a virtual universe that she created. But in the new revised version, a month or two back, which was, I think, closer to the time that I added these characters to my characters list. Hold on. What are their names? Or where are they? Actually, I know their fucking names. The initial time that I wrote the what was it? The future of virtual reality. When I first put that into my characters list, it was just the unique character, Kayla. But later on, I added apparently 5 new characters, but I only remember 4, or actually wrote down them as part of that universe as well for 3 of them, because 3 of them were part of that universe. One of them, I don't know who the fuck that character is. It's just a character named Christine. I don't know. Specifically, I labeled them Aunt Christine. I think pertaining to the relationship between this Christine character and the Kayla character, but whatever. In the new version of the story, the same thing happened in the initial thing, but like, the mother was much more chaotically looking for her child after she realized the child went missing. Also known as a more realistic reality. More realistic in specifically that. Nothing else of this story is any more realistic than the other one. As a matter of fact, one might argue a lot of it is less realistic. At least it makes sense to be God in a virtual world. But this is specifically the Kayla part of the story I'm talking about. Like, the original part of the story would probably make about as much sense as the newest version of the Kayla part of the story that I'm about to tell. But anyway, that part of the story was like, what the fuck was I saying? What the fuck was I on? Right. After that, stuff differs. I think she lived there for like, I don't know, 100 years or so. And finally, that was a very, I think, a little after that, the mother had some guys tried to ask for help from some people in government or high positions, but failed because they didn't believe that, hey, my child disappeared, and suddenly after my child disappeared, there was this weird young girl that I heard suddenly appearing in the middle of an abandoned building that I decided to explore, and potentially also tell them that she left the baby unattended. Although I don't know if she would have told them that. After a bit though, after like 100 years or so, by then after a short while actually, she decides to be one of the earliest testers for something that can make humans not age, which works. She does no longer age, and she goes back there after like 100 years, finally, with some law enforcement listening to her for once. Actually, I think they might have gone and explored in there and found nothing, and so they just not long after the incident, which led to them just not letting her lead them in there over and over and over again, because they got annoyed at how much she would be saying, but I swear my son disappeared, and there's a girl talking about it. And there's a girl who must be involved in it. A little girl that sounds no more than 12 to 13. Which is a little weird, which is, a little crazy. Even if that is what happened. Especially since nobody knows about this room thing that is only in this structure. Anyway. At the time, when they finally find it, I think they managed to break into the room where Kayla had been living without really getting to see the outside world, after a lot of attempts to stop that from happening from Vroom. And eventually they got in. They were like, hey, what did you do to this lady's daughter? And she's like, this lady's son. And she's just like, she's obviously just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've literally never seen this lady, or like the son you seem to be mentioning, in my life. I haven't even seen a little boy before. An actual little boy before. They pestered, they're annoyed at each other, and I think something about, like, I just gotta add, in this story, the dynamic between Vroom and Kayla is more like a father-daughter relationship, is what I had it as here, or a parent-daughter, because Vroom is a fucking machine that never really had a gender to begin with, although it most perceives itself as more like a father than a mother figure. The two of them both would probably kill to protect the other, which is what both of them near tried to do when each of them was threatened by the lady and or the people who she had brought in to help her do this. eventually it is figured out that the little girl Kayla is also the mother's son, Kyle. Kayla, however, does in fact prefer being a girl. Which leads to the mother and Kayla getting very angry at each other. Eventually, Kayla ends up, I think at one point Kayla summons Knife and this universe's Knife and Sabrina by like having Vroom manifest them as physical beings or something. Recreate their physical forms that they used to take. I don't know. Either way, I think the two of them got involved, and probably the Aunt Christine. I don't know. I think that Kayla was perceived those two as like grandmas. If I understand the story correctly. I don't know why I said that as if I didn't make the fucking story. Anyway, I just decided to lay in a more comfortable position. I'm gonna end the stream after this story, jeez. I kinda figured it'd only be one story that I'd tell. But, so it's actually surprising I ended up with two, but one of them was like, honestly shorter than some of the ones I removed from the list for being too short and being too incomplete. There was actually one in the list that is incomplete, but might have more lore than a lot of the other ones in the list potentially combined, because it's been one I've been in the process of making for like a week now. Anyway, so back to the story I'm actually telling you about. I need my mic not to be right next to my fucking face. I should probably, like, have some background music for this shit, cause this is goddamn boring. I might do that if I do this again. Honestly, I might do this again. I enjoy this. It's not doing much, but it's fun to me because I get to express, like, all this creativity that I've been, for some reason, hiding from the world. Anyway, back from the distraction. The lady gets kicked out by Kayla, and actually more accurately Vroom, after she annoys the fuck out of the two of them, because Kayla does not want to go back with her. She likes living the life in the virtual world. Honestly, that's a little questionable, but I believe that every way I've told this story, Kayla has lived a genuinely good life here, making good friends, not having a lot of, if any, bad experiences, but also not remembering or knowing anything about the real world without somebody else telling her. Aunt Christine might have just been somebody who, like, adopted Kayla as, like, their virtual niece. That doesn't sound entirely unreasonable. I've seen a lot. I have seen people who make virtual families. Honestly, I've experienced people making up family relations between them and other people in the same school as them. But anyway, back to what am I saying? Eventually, of course, this lady was kicked out. The other guys there, I think, were also let out, but they might have been attacked. I don't remember. After a bit, though. After that, though, Kayla just goes back to living in the virtual world, hanging out with her friends that she knows, living with her adopted father figure. It's hard to even say figure when referencing Vroom, because it's not a figure, it's just like it's a thing. But that feels rude because it has sentience. I think that in the second like the newer version of the second half of the story, Vroom just kind of gains some form of telekinesis kind of thing. I don't know. Honestly, it's crazy looking back at these stories, how little I know about my own shit. Like, it's like, oh yes, if I just get the name of the story, I could easily tell the entire thing. And then I go and try and do it, I tell 90% of it, I get all of the major details correct. Trust me on that, I ain't gotten no major details wrong. But the minor details... Because, like, these stories, I don't tell in my mind the way I tell in this, I tell on the microphone. In my mind, I have all these characters interacting with each other. This means, in this one story, I have Kayla, Virtual Knife, Virtual Sabrina, the Aunt Christine, and the, as I dubbed her in this story, entitled Mother, all talking to each other. I don't know if Aunt Christine got involved in that, though. Also, Vroom. I literally forgot about Vroom. I don't think Aunt Christine gets involved in it. But, yeah, after that, that's like... Honestly, I'm pretty happy with what I did here. I didn't do a lot of art. I might do art of these characters in the future. As a matter of fact, you know what? It might be best if I, like, did a little time lapse of drawing the characters in like a little like a little picture together. All the characters in a certain universe, as I have the background audio just be me telling the story of this, telling the story that these characters are from. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think the mother might have continued pestering the 5 of them, depending on if Aunt Christine got involved. But yeah, that's about the end of that story. And that's about the end of Storytelling Night, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you watch it next time. Also, if I do end up doing that time-lapse shit, that's gonna be a bitch. Bye-bye.